In 2019, Honda released their first sports side-by-sides with two models, the Honda Talon X for tight technical trails and the Honda Talon R for the more wide-open terrain. With the 2020 model year came the release of the Talon X4 and Talon X4 Fox Live Valve models. While there was plenty of excitement around the release of the four-seat Talon X from Honda, some were left asking, where is the four-seat R? Finally, after 3 full model years, Honda answered the call with the all-new Honda Talon R4 Fox Live Valve. The first question most will be asking is what makes the new Talon R4 live valve different than the Talon X live valve? So let's start there. The truth is both machines are very, very similar, right down to the available color options, with both Fox live valve models in the X and R being available in either pearl red, which has a white front end, red tail end, and red frame, or matte navy, which has a light blue front end and navy back end with a light blue frame. In fact, from 100 yards, you might not even be able to tell the difference between the models, the X and the R. However, there is one major change that's easy to see as soon as you get closer, and it sticks out like a sore thumb once you're pushing it through the trails and actually using the machine. And that is the additional width and suspension on the Talon R. The new Talon R is now 68 inches wide and has the same suspension setup as its two-seat little brother. Out front, it has independent double wishbone suspension with 17.7 inches of travel, over 3 inches more than the Talon X4. In the rear, you'll find a 4+ link trailing arm setup with 20.1 inches of travel. It's the same setup as the two-seat Talon R. It does have over 5 inches more travel than the Talon X4. As for shocks, you're going to find the 2.5-inch Fox QS3s on all 4 corners. And we'll dig into the performance of the suspension here in just a little bit. The rest of the differences between the X and the R are pretty subtle. The wheelbase is just 2.3 inches longer. Ground clearance is improved by about an inch at 13.2 inches. And then turning radius is just under a foot wider at 22.6 feet. And then the R4 outweighs the X4 by about 48 pounds. We were lucky enough to spend a few days in eastern Oklahoma at the Mid-America Outdoors Off-Road Park, testing out the new Talon and getting some experience behind the wheel. We started off with a night ride in some tight trails and hills that surrounded the park. Went through some creeks and whatnot as well. Really had a lot of fun that night. A few weeks prior to our arrival, there was actually an Ultra 4 race that happened in the same area. And then there was some really heavy rain the night before, so there was plenty of ruts and whatnot, and it made the trail a lot of fun and a bit more technical, I think, than even Honda was expecting for the event. We spent the first half of the following day riding trails that varied from tight technical stuff with some rocky hill climbs and a couple other things to some short stretches of wide open terrain. It really was some great varied terrain there. The second half of the day, we were able to jump into a completely stock Talon R4, first few miles that were put on this machine with a Baja 1000 winning racer named Elliott Watson. He was behind the wheel, and he was able to take us for a few laps around the short course track that was designed and recently completed. It was designed by Travis Pastrana and his friends. To see what the Talon R4 was actually capable of with a professional driver behind the wheel was, in a word, shocking. With that in mind, let's jump in to the suspension and handling and talk about the performance there. For those who prefer a more wide open riding style and a smoother ride, the Talon R4 is a big step up from the Talon X. With suspension in normal mode, the R4 feels smooth through tight technical trails, absorbing most of the bumps and jolts that come with choppy terrain. The additional travel and width should keep most people comfortable for a full day of riding. When the live valve suspension is switched into sport mode, the R4 becomes more stable and planted feeling, especially as you push it through tight corners at speed. This was made even more apparent when we hit the short course track with Elliott Watson. He had no problem pushing the Talon R hard into corners, with the R4 remaining stable throughout. He He also hit multiple jumps along the way, which was a lot of fun. In some cases, he was even clearing some doubles that were on the track, and the suspension had no problem at all handling it. Not once in the laps we took did the R4 bottom out. With the right person behind the wheel, the suspension and handling were absolutely impressive. While the suspension performance was impressive, in our opinion, it could benefit from a third live valve mode. A sport mode for higher speed or high clearance situations, a normal mode for everyday driving, and then a comfort mode for choppy dirt roads and trails. A comfort setting would also help account for those times you find the backseat empty and provide a smoother ride for two passengers riding in a four-seat machine. While the new suspension will get most of the attention, Honda has actually made a number of improvements with the new Talon R4 that we feel are big enough and bring enough impact to address. Having spent plenty of time behind the wheel of the Talon X, steering was one of the improvements that stood out to me the most during our time with the machine. The steering is well balanced. It gives you plenty of assistance while not sacrificing the feel that you need. The improved steering is thanks to a new electronic power steering system, or EPS unit, that increases torque assist 87% and includes a return to center function that helps you get back into a straight line coming out of corners. It also has a new and improved steering rack for increased strength and durability. While we're talking steering, a question a lot of people have is, how is the turning radius? I know on the two-seat Talon R, a lot of people were not impressed with the turning radius on the two-seat. The turning radius on the new Talon R4 is 22.6 feet. So for perspective, that's just short of a foot wider than the Talon X4 and over 8 inches more narrow than the Kawasaki KRX4. We had no issues at all in making tight turns in wooded trails in Oklahoma. Thanks not only to the turning radius, but that improved EPS unit and the steering. I'm telling you, if you have 32s on your rig, or if you plan to put 32s on your Honda Talon, I have no problem saying that the new EPS unit and power steering rack, or steering rack anyway, will take care of turning your tires properly. Let's talk about the engine and transmission. So the Talon R4 carries over the same Africa twin used in the other Talon models and some other machines as well, with its 104 horsepower from the factory. The trans is also the same. However, there were some improvements to the electronic control system that was definitely noticeable over the 2021 and older models. The tip-in, or the responsiveness to putting your foot on the accelerator, has been improved, allowing for smoother engagement and a less jerky feeling through the rough terrain. In addition, on prior models, sport mode for the transmission was only available in high gear, and now it's actually available in low gear as well. This gives you the ability to stay in automatic mode, but the trans will shift down quicker when you need it, and it will hold the RPMs longer as well before shifting up. Honda actually has a great combination with their engine and transmission, and there's a reason that the big players in the UTV market are developing a DCT. Truth be told, having been a Honda Talon owner in the past, I miss the feeling and control you get with the DCT. I want to touch real quick as well on some of the additional features with the new Talon R4. So, with the Talon models now nearly 5 years old, Honda's had some time to listen to consumers and then make some changes based on their feedback. They've added new full doors as a standard feature now to help keep the dust and the mud out. The doors actually have a more finished look on the inside, and they have cup holders in the doors, and then they have nets as well, or netted cubby holes as well, for you to keep stuff or storage in the doors as well. In general, I'd say the doors feel a lot more finished than they have in the past. It also comes with new wheels and tires. The new wheels are an aluminum wheel from Honda. They are multi-spoke wheels. They're a great looking wheel in person. They also come with new Kenda tires that have a thicker sidewall that should help with pinch flats and things like that. They've also increased the thickness of the outside pipes on the cage, or the rollover protection system. It's gone from 1.5 millimeters to 2.3 millimeters. So quite a bit more protection, giving you more protection in case of a rollover. And then lastly, the Talon R4 gauge cluster is now properly located in the center of the steering wheel, right in front of the driver, where, as we all know, it should be. All right, now let's talk pricing. So the Talon R4 is priced at $25,799 US. That is $1,200 cheaper than a similarly spec'd Polaris RZR XP, and it's $2,700 cheaper than a similarly spec'd Kawasaki KRX. You get some pretty good value at that price with the Talon R4. With the initial release of the Talon in 2019, Honda set out to create a UTV that had industry-leading handling and responsiveness, had great durability, quality, and reliability that Honda's become known for, all designed around an exciting experience for the passengers. As with any new model release, there are lessons learned in the first few years of production that usually translate into a better overall product down the road. That's certainly the case with the Honda Talon R4, and while many waited impatiently for its release with only hopes of it eventually coming, the result of what we waited for, or what they waited for, is an impressive rig. The Talon is a great fit for just about anyone, especially those looking to have a comfortable and exciting time with their family on the trail. All right, guys, that's it for this one. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Talon R4 in the comment section down below. Are you a fan? What do you think of the new rig from Honda? Are you going to get one, or are you moving on for another rig, or does it not quite pique your interest enough to get after one? Let us know in the comments down below. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button down below. Guys, appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for more content on the Honda Talon and other rigs as they come out, and we'll catch you on the next one.